Hey out there, this is Thursday, April 6th, 2021. And it is just about quarter to 8 in the morning here in Northern California. As usual, I'll get into several different things. But listen, friends, anybody listening, it's my prerogative to be everybody's friend, as it is yours. And I do what I do with this video series to try to reach somebody, to try to reach anybody in a way that is counterintuitive to the way the world will reach you. And the stuff that I believe is perfectly logical sounds radical because of our training. To believe in equality is a radical notion. How long has humanity been fighting for equality? You can go back in the farthest annals of history and you'll see the struggle has gone on for freedom. For freedom. Do you understand? That's what the struggle, that's what the controversy has been all about. That's why the wars, all of it. You understand? And it has everything to do with money. We're foisted into a world where we're forced, coerced to adapt to what we're told is reality. And I try to tell people to think way, way, way outside the box. Okay? And establish whether or not you believe there is an almighty creator God. That's a very important step. I just saw an ad with Ron Reagan. I made some notes here to talk about later. But man, I mean, listen, an atheist, I mean, hey, listen, they think they're delusional. They think they've got science on their side. It's like the mainstream media. The way they'll put one expert with one opinion. Okay, this is the essence of propaganda. As if there's no dissenting voices of experts, people that are experts, okay? What is an expert? Who decides who is an expert? And who decides that these are the only experts we're going to let you hear from? You understand? This thing goes deep. So, hey, listen, I recommend everybody get some ancient wisdom under your belt, okay? If you want to hold your own against some poor sap that is so devoutly anti-God, because that's what atheism, I mean, a guy like Ron Reagan getting out there doing these ads, these people are sponsoring these anti-God. They're anti-believing. They're against you. If you believe there's an almighty creator God, you're a dumbass. Do you understand? By default position. So you got to have something there. If you want to believe in God, you got to have some substance. You understand? You got to know what you're talking about. You got to know how to defend your belief system, your BS. Because they've got some good BS. And it comes across so calmly and peacefully and intellectually. And it's like, holy God, I mean, the powers that be, I'm telling you, that's what this whole world, this secular world is a pagan system. Okay, they based it off religious, that's where they got this from. What do you think taxes started? It's a tithing. You're supposed to give to charity. You're supposed to be charitable. Hell, Gideon's Bible substitute the word love for charity. Charity, give. Because it's your instinct, it's your godly instinct. And this is the best way to thwart those demon spirits, those demonic forces that come against you. Okay? Money is a false competing God. How many people will tell you that straight up? How often do you hear somebody tell it to you just like that? And the only answer to solve humanity's problems is to wean ourselves off each and every form of money. It's really that succinct. It's that simple. It's that cut and dry. Okay? That a little child can understand it, and we're all without excuse to say we cannot possibly imagine how a society could work without this thing we call money. Are you crazy? And why would you? Money's great. And for half the population, approximately, apparently it is status quo. I mean, everybody talks about that 0.1% or whatever tiny figure it is. And yes, I understand at the uppermost echelons, there is secrecy. They don't listen. If you own the perpetual patent to the printing the money, how much are you worth? Aren't you virtually worth whatever you say you're worth? For all intents and purposes, if you want to say I'm an infinite heir, there's no limit to how much I have. Because essentially, I mean, when you're talking about these billions that these people have, isn't that the same thing? How in the hell are they ever going to spend that? And it's a hot potato. Do you understand? These people should be thinking of, God, I got to get this. I don't want to be caught with my pants down. That's what it comes down to. Because that's what's about to happen here. And you don't want your riches to rot when you had an opportunity to get rid of that crap, man. Dump it. Dump it, I'm telling you. And a lot of people you dump it on, guess what? They're going to dump it right back on you. Know your problem. People don't want the power. Don't you get that? All these people, these elitists of mind and the little mini elitists out there, they don't understand. People don't want it. They don't care. Sure, they want stuff. They want freedom. They want prosperity. They want security. But they don't want money. We don't need money. Who said we need money? You? You're the authorities, like Cartman in South Park. Listen to the authorities. Comply, conform, capitulate. It's the only logical way. That makes sense. It's practical and pragmatic, and we're the learned ones because we say so. But if you ask anyone, to this day, you could Google who's the wisest man in the world that ever lived. King Solomon comes up. How many of them know more than the story about the two ladies fighting over whose baby it was and King Solomon's brilliant idea of saying, hey, cut the baby in half now. And then the real mother, I mean, it's a touching story. She relented. She let the other woman have it. She said, hey. And it was brilliant. It was a brilliant ploy. To get to the bottom of it immediately. And it was just, that's the hand of God in there. That's where we get our intelligence. That's where you get your brain. God, I mean, listen, I see absolutely no advantage to atheism. I just don't. But you've got to have something under your belt. And here's what I would give you. Look, read the New Testament. And then if you're interested, you can read all through the Old because there's a lot of reference to the Old in the New. Okay. But at least get some wisdom under your belt. Jesus said, the wisdom of Solomon, he says, you know what? I mean, that his wisdom far infinitely exceeded that of Solomon. So why not read about it? I mean, I understand every single word that he said. Some of it sounds bizarre. It's like, what, this and that. Hey, listen, read for yourself. Make your own opinion. But at least it's an interesting read. But get some ancient wisdom under your belt. I suggest also knowing the beginning. The story of how it all began, because I got nothing. To an atheist, I got nothing. That hears me talking to some homeless person and going on about God. So an atheist homeless person maybe would approach me and accost me and confront me. And, hey, buddy, you know what? I think you're God. I think he's a feckless pustule. That's what I think. I think you're a fool, an idiot, a purveyor of deceit on these poor souls. There's no God. That's what the university professors teach. That's the learned belief. Besides, why would God allow these things? You talk about this loving, all-powerful God, and they could point to dozens of things that would conflict with my beliefs. And I would say, you're right. Why? There's no reason. I mean, people don't even know why there's thorns on a rose. They'll say, oh, well, the thorns are there to protect it from the animals eating the roses, right? Because that's the only practical thing you can only think of, right? So that suggests that the plants now have brains. They're thinking, look, what can I do? And they have the power to change their form. They're shapeshifters. I mean, that's pretty incredible power for the fauna to have, isn't it? Makes me think of this book I read many years ago called The Magic of Findhorn, which was actually a good read. Found it very entertaining. But, listen, the thorns serve no purpose. They don't keep any of the diseases, the many diseases that roses get off. They don't keep any pests off the rose. And they don't keep animals like goats and deer and cows from eating the things, okay? For some reason, they're able, believe it or not. I mean, I don't get it. I can't understand how any animal could eat through the thorns. But they do. And they don't hold any protection. So there's absolutely no practical reason for there to be thorns on a rose. And I'd say, what is this? And if I didn't know about the fall of man, the original sin, okay, and the subsequent curse that befell the earth, okay, that's the fault of our ancestors, but we're still feeling it. Now things are handed down. It's genetic at this point. It has been since the beginning of our creation here on earth. There's countless probably planets populated with similar beings to us. Look at how different so many humans we look from one another. So, this is our story. This is our history, and forevermore it will be. So we got to get comfortable with it. We got to get used to it. We got to know it. And the way the story goes, whether it's an allegory, metaphor, analogy, whatever the case may be, okay, the way the story goes is there's this, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And our ancestors were advised by God, by their creator that gave them life and gave them everything in this perfect world, this Garden of Eden, right? Shangri-La, whatever you want to call it. And they said they were tempted by another being that said, you know what? It's just that God doesn't want you to be like him, all-knowing. And he tempted it. The fruit looked good to eat, and so Eve ate it. And Adam didn't want to be left behind without his queen, and like any guy would do, he ate it too. And so they were together in sin, and they knew they were naked. They felt shameful. They knew they had done wrong. They just sensed it. They sensed that separation between just listening and just taking my word, my guide.